more than today. The only way to slow down this growth is investment in healthcare and access to contraception and education in developing countries. But even with massive investment, it will take a few decades for the effects of low birth rates to manifest themselves. So the global for the foreseeable future, and as a consequence, global CO2 emissions will rise over the next few decades. Number 2, growth or getting richer. The richer and more developed we are, the more emissions our lifestyle produces. A programmer in the US has a higher CO2 footprint than 50 farmers in Uganda. And although it's far from evenly distributed, economic growth has led to the highest standards of living in human history. Growth has become the dominant mantra of the world's economies, no matter what kind of political system they have. It's unlikely that rich countries will give up the concept of growth anytime soon. Even if they were to, developing countries want to become rich too. For billions of people, the end of growth would probably mean staying poor, and so developing economic ideology is not going to go away anytime soon. More countries and their citizens around the world will grow and become richer, while the rich economies will continue to grow their wealth. Signs that growth can be decoupled. Growth and economic growth, humanity's CO2 emissions will increase, which is the opposite of peak and then reduce annual emissions. The next two factors describe how we can actually do this. Number 3, energy intensity describes how efficiently we use energy. A street food vendor in rural Brazil might burn coal to cook, while a street food vendor in France might use an induction stove powered by nuclear energy, way more efficient. The more efficient something is, the less energy we need to do something. Be it powering a metropolitan area, the most important ways to reduce the modern world's CO2 dependency. This can mean everything from reducing power consumption with AI, the electrification opportunities for improvement are almost limitless, and human ingenuity can go wild. But we know that increasing efficiency alone will not be one direct rebound effect. This means that once something becomes more efficient, it's fuel-efficient car, you save money on fuel, and end up with extra funds in your bank account that you fly with. So, more CO2. 3. And lastly, the more you optimize for efficiency, the harder and more expensive investment slows down. And with many technologies, we are already pretty efficient. But regardless of how efficient we make our economies, as to our last factor. Number 4, CO2 emissions per energy. Humanity's global carbon footprint is the CO2 released per energy unit generated. For example, coal that we burn, the higher our down coal and ordering society into chaos. But the reality is that we're not doing nearly enough to keep fossil fuels in the ground and use it. We need to use the real leverage we have today with today's technology. There are a lot of things we can do in the fuel industry and funnel them into renewables. We can price carbon emissions harshly and increase the technologies and innovation. It will be impossible to achieve a zero CO2 emission world, be it from technologies like carbon capture or a new generation of nuclear power plants to new batteries that revolutionize. Every year we keep adding more carbon to the atmosphere. This means we can't keep relying on innovation alone. We need to find ways to reduce emissions today while we invent what we will need in the future. The less fossil, the more coal power plants in construction we stop from being finished, the more CO2 we save. Neither innovation nor the alternatives we're using today alone can solve rapid climate change. Needs of billions of people, and the reality that right now society runs mostly on fossil fuels. This will not change overnight, but it needs to change as here on YouTube, or join us in our subreddit for helping us out with data and research. Anyway, things that would like to be stars. We begin like Jupiter, the most massive planet, more massive than Earth, and dwarfs, failed stars that are a huge disappointment to their mums. They have between